So I've got some fantastic new tools in the new Photoshop beta that I want to show you that created some amazing image results. So we're going to be going over the Photoshop beta and my top tools. So we're going to go over the selection tool updates, specifically selecting an image of a person and identifying specific items of that person, and then we're going to be adjusting those elements using the adjusted presets. And then we're going to harmonize the foreground and background images, which blends the two together. And then we're going to take a look at actions, and those are ways to modify your image, and you can do this by suggested ideas for your specific image, or you can actually type in your request. Then I'm going to show you a tip for using the actions tool with other AI tools. Let's get started. There's some amazing new features in Photoshop Beta. You can get it at adobe.com or in your Creative Cloud account. So you can see here what I ended up with, and it's quite a bit different from what I started out at. So with my original image selected, the first thing I'm going to do is remove background. The next thing I'm going to do is generate background. This is the generative fill. So I looked at the images it gave me, and I'm going to use this one. The next thing I'm going to do is modify my image. So with your object selection tool selected, you'll notice there's a drop down that says select people. This will show different people in your image. So this shows me, but if you had other people in your image, they would show up here also. So I'm going to select me. I'm going to choose hair and hit apply. Now, with my hair selected, I'm going to go to the adjustments panel, and for adjustments, I'm going to take a look at some of the presets that are listed under here. The next thing I'm going to select is my eyeglasses, and I'm going to select the original image again, and it should show up with my eyeglasses. There, and I'm going to make some adjustments here using hue saturation. Now that I've got my glasses finished, I'm next going to modify my lips, and it's found my lips here, and I'm going to do the same adjustments, but I'm also going to check out the presets, and I'm going to use this one. Now, one of the things I'm going to change, which doesn't show up in the automatic selection, is my nails. So I'm going to manually select those. And then I'm going to go to adjustments. So the very last thing I'm going to do is harmonize. And that does exactly what it sounds like. It's going to harmonize the front image and the back image together. So the lighting will show up correctly on the front image. Now it's going to modify your image quite a bit. So make sure you've done any of your image correction before you do this. With your original image selected, select Harmonize. So you can see how it's changed my image quite a bit. So the next thing we're going to go over is actions. These are different from the normal actions that you're used to. First off, you want to select your background and unselect your Harmonize layer, because that is more permanent. You might have to hit Harmonize again after you've modified your background. So with your background layer or your foreground layer selected, go ahead and hit the action button. These are different from your normal actions. These are options for automated looks that it's already come up with. There's also options to select different things, like select sky, and you can replace the sky with the sunset. So one thing to keep in mind is that every adjustment adds another layer or a folder or a selection. So make sure you have the right layer selected before you do your adjustment. So now we're going to see how
one of these new tools, the action tool, is working with one of the other tools that we have in regular Photoshop. So we're going to expand this image. Now, this is an important note. If you use the action treatments before you use the generative expand tool, then it will take all of your layers and make sure that they are expanded. So it will take the background layer and it will take the sky layer. But if you do the treatment after, then it won't work. I'll show you why. So we're going to use the crop tool and expand our image. We're going to add in a boat on the river. So one of the cool things about the prompt is that I asked it for a boat and it gave me a boat that would actually be in Paris. It's one of those excursion boats. And look at the nice reflection it added. So now we're going to do a treatment of our background using the action tool. And we're going to replace sky with sunset. Now you can see why this doesn't work, because it only treated the background image, not the extended part of the background, which is the boat on the river part. So it's important to add your treatments before you do generative expand. Or I have a tip for you. If you combine your generative expand layer and your original background into a smart object, you can then use the action tool to treat that, and it will work on the entire image. Now you can see our harmonize image isn't really working well with this background. There's a little bit of shadow back here. So I'm actually going to delete my harmonize layer. So I'm going to select my original image and I'm going to harmonize again. Now you can see that the foreground image and the background image match perfectly, and we have different options here as well. So I hope you enjoyed this full tutorial and unpacking of the Photoshop Beta AI tools.